This is DMVSTREAM.COM, and you are in the Prep Zone. Hello, everybody. I'm Sean Parker, along with Nick Eilerson from the Washington Post. And Nick, we've got some fresh meat in here today. James Fleet from DMV Elite. James, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. As always, we've got an exciting show. But first, this is where you're going to watch the show. So take a look on your screen. Those are the channels that you can watch the Prep Zone. And also, there you can see here today, we've got a good show lineup. We've got St. Stephen's, St. Agnes versus Episcopal as kind of keying things off for us, and we've got just some great games to go over, as well as Josh Apple's sit down with Tyler Scanlon, and also Nick Eilerson and I had a conversation a little bit earlier talking about the big decommitment flip in the DMV. So we'll get to all of that in just a moment. We're going to step away for a brief break. Come back. We're going to talk about the DMV. We're going to see the DMVStream.com play of the week right here in the Prep Zone.
The Prep Zone at DMVStream.com is a weekly 30-minute TV-style show that features local sports reporters and on-air talent. The show covers high school sports in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. The crew at DMVStream.com recaps the week's highlights and looks ahead to preview the best upcoming high school sports in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. Tune in to the Prep Zone.
Hello everybody, Jackie Sagar here to unveil the DMVStream.com Play of the Week, coming from Arlington, Virginia. With the Wakefield Warriors down 2 with 4 seconds left, Dang Nial gets the inbound and kicks it out to Halil Parks, who drains the 3 for the incredible 42-41 win as the Warriors stay undefeated. If you want to see your play as Play of the Week on our show, be sure to tweet us at DMVStream.
Welcome back to the Prep Zone. Sean Parker, James Fleet, Nick Eilerson here with you. And we're going to jump right into the weekend rewind. Nick, St. Stephen's, St. Agnes, Episcopal.
Yes, they got it done. St. Stephen's, St. Agnes took down Episcopal 55-49. Very nice home win for them. Handing Episcopal their first regional loss of the season. Episcopal is a very good team this year, so that was a really nice home win for St. Stephen's. It was Miles Lewis was the guy who kind of stepped up in this one, the sixth man coming off the bench, kind of being the motor for St. Stephen's in this one. Just a tireless player, collected a lot of loose balls, really helped him down the stretch. With 18 seconds left, he grabbed a key offensive rebound, got fouled, hit both free throws to kind of secure the win. So, raucous home environment in this one. St. Stephen's, the student section is always great. And they really propelled the Saints to a key IAC victory in this one.
All right. So as we're taking a look at the highlights here, Miles Lewis was the man here in this game, and it looks like a little bandbox of a gym, but but I imagine it gets loud in there.
It's very loud. Yeah, those students get pretty pumped up too. But this was a game where George Mwanda Kalema for Episcopal did his thing. He had 17 points. That was a little bit of everything, very explosive guard for them, but just at the end of the day, it wasn't quite enough to get it done for the Maroon. Like I said, Miles Lewis had a very nice game in this one. 7 boards to go along with those points, 2 steals, and like I said before, just a real nice motor for that team to get them going. And this is a case of St. Stephen's, St. Agnes having a nice win, but last night they rebounded I shouldn't say they rebounded, they lost to St. Albans. So you can't be doing that. You got to stay consistent in the IAC. That's something they're looking to change this year. They finished first place in the regular season last year and ended up losing in the first playoff game. I think they've actually done that each of the last 3 years. So St. Stephen's, St. Agnes really this year looking to start peaking at the right time. Start playing like this in March, and let's see if that happens this year. But they're looking very good right now. That's a very well-balanced team.
All right, well, St. Stephen's, St. Agnes with a solid 6-point win. We're going to move on now, James. Maret and St. James, a close game. And was the game as close as that score indicates?
Well, it started off where St. James came out. They jumped on Maret and it was like 24-4 in the first quarter. The crazy part about that is people thought the game was really over. And I think Maret was really shell-shocked by the size of St. James.
Maybe Maret didn't know what time the game started. I mean, 24-4.
The game started off real slow for Maret, and it looked like in the second quarter they started to get their legs back. And then in the second half, because they still were down by like 15 or 20 at the end of the half. In the second half, Maret started putting some things together, got some runs going. It was Kobe Davis, Elijah Bowens, and E.J. Jarvis. They combined in the second half for 32 points. And they held St. James, like they outscored them 45-26 in the second half.
You're going to do good things when you can outscore the opposition by 19 in the second half. As we saw on the graphic, Kobe Davis was the top performer in that game with 14 points. And Maret coming out with the 1-point victory, 68-67. We're going to step away here for a brief break. We're going to come back for our third game report. But as we step away, Nick Eilerson and I sat and had a talk a little bit earlier about the big decommitment flip in the DMV. Two of Maryland's commits, Dwayne Haskins and Keandre Jones, heading to Ohio State. So let's take a look at that talk. Sean Parker along with Nick Eilerson from the Washington Post discussing the big flip in the D.C. area. Dwayne Haskins, Keandre Jones flipping their commitments from Maryland to Ohio State. Nick, this is certainly just taken the DMV by storm. And why did Haskins and Jones flip their commitments in the first place?
Well, first off, shout out to my colleague at the Washington Post, Brandon Parker, for breaking the story. He got a text message from Keandre on Monday and wrote a great article about it. I'm just kind of his messenger here today, so here we go. But it all started in October, I guess you could say, when Maryland fired Randy Edsall. Whenever you hire a head coach, change is bound to happen. The two kept their commitments in place, kind of waited to see how everything played out. Both Keandre and Dwayne were recruited by Mike Loxley, an assistant coach for Maryland, who was very influential with recruiting, very charismatic guy. So they kind of waited to see if he would stick around. That was the main key. And when Maryland hired DJ Durkin in December, they started thinking, well, let's see how this goes down. And of course, Durkin decided not to retain Loxley, which is about the point where both players started kind of opening their options again. I think they both visited some schools. I believe that Dwayne took an official visit to Florida at that time. I think Dwayne actually visited Ohio State as well. And so they were exploring options a little bit. And then this past weekend, we had Keandre taking an official visit to Ohio State. And Urban Meyer was showing him just the wondrous palatial headquarters of Ohio State and everything that's going on with that football program, and having him hold the trophies and the rings and doing everything you do as a recruiter. And of course, a high school kid's going to be enticed by that. It's certainly apparently swayed him. And meanwhile, Dwayne was in Maryland. He was at Maryland, happened to be at the Maryland's basketball game. And who are they playing? Well, they're playing Ohio State. Coincidence, who knows? But
maybe a little bit.
Yeah, and so lo and behold, the next day on Monday, we learned that both are going to both flip their commitments from Maryland to Ohio State.
Welcome back to the Prep Zone. In case you've forgotten, I'm Sean, this is James, this is Nick. We're going to go into our third game report, Georgetown Prep and Bullis. 61-51 win for Georgetown Prep. Tell us about it.
This is a big one for Georgetown Prep, a pretty rare win for them against Bullis. I mean, they lost 6 times to this team in the previous 2 seasons. And I don't even know how many times in the few seasons before that. It's been a long losing streak to them. So kudos to Georgetown Prep getting this one done. Anthony Scafidi was huge in this one. He's kind of a reserve guard who's stepping into a role. They've got an injury or 2 on that team. And Anthony's playing very well this season. In this game, he played particularly well. Had a game-high 18 points. The little guy, he's so small, you don't think he can do anything at the varsity level. But then you see him play, he's just absolutely fast as lightning. And the kid can shoot it too. So he ended up having his first game in double figures actually in this one. And Georgetown Prep, just as you can see, at home, getting it done on both ends of the floor. I think they outscored Bullis 27-14 there in that fourth quarter, so really stepped up late. Bullis not having its best season. They're 8-6 to this point, I believe, so a bit of a down year for them, but they're not a bad team, so it's still a very nice win for the Little Hoyas.
All right, 61-51. I'm sure our graphic is coming up in just a moment, with Anthony Scafidi being the top performer of the game, 18 points, 6 of 6 from the free throw line.
right.
And on the high school level, I don't think you can take away or emphasize enough free throw shooting.
Yes.
Is key.
It is key.
So him going 6 for 6 from the line, definitely worth that top performance. 10-point win by Georgetown Prep.
Right.
Now we are going to talk about, well, I'm going to call it the Hatfields and McCoys. South Hagerstown and North Hagerstown. Now down here in the DMV area, not too familiar with that, but James, tell us about the two Hagerstowns.
The Hagerstown matchup. It's a very big matchup up there in what we call the DMV Elite West area. North has this team that is very competitive, not a whole lot of stars. They got 2 bigs. Not really known, but South has a sophomore named Amir Harris, who is really a dynamic sophomore. They put him in multiple positions. They play him at the center, they play him at the forward, they play him at the point guard. And then you put Jason Witzel, who is their, I call him the assassin, because he shoots threes. I think he went, in that particular game, he went 6 for 7 from threes. So, I mean, put those two together, they are really, really tough.
And we see Malik Carey with 17 points for North Hagerstown on the other side. But there you see Amir Harris's stats: 18 points, steal to clinch the game for South Hagerstown, and just two pretty good teams.
That game went back and forth, and then South got onto a run in the fourth quarter, and they were able to pull away. A big 3 from Witzel and another steal from Harris, and then a finish, and then they were able to actually step away from North.
So how are those two teams going to look going forward for the rest of the
South
season?
is really good up in that particular area. That area has changed because they used to play Frederick, Maryland, and Washington County schools played against each other in one MVLA league. But now that they split it up, everybody is doing like double. They're playing each team twice up there. So it's going to be another matchup later down the season. And then that can actually lead to playing in their class, like the Division II class for the playoffs. So that makes a big difference for them.
All right. So those were our game recaps. We're going to step away, pay a few more bills, and we're going to come back with the allmetsports.com weekly fast forward right here on the Prep Zone.
Everyone needs a go-to move. One that is too tough to stop. A shot that no one can block. This is how to step back like a pro. Just one more move to add to your arsenal. There is always more to it than just a move. You must see the situation and practice that situation until it becomes second nature. So let's break it down into steps. Always read and react to how the defender is playing. You want to look for that top foot. Make sure to slam the ball to the ground and then step diagonally back. The more explosive the move, the more likely you will stun your defender. But don't forget to be on balance. It is very easy to fade back on the shot. Just stay low and it will fix all of that. This is a great go-to move. If you can shoot, of course. Evolve your game.
What's the Move Wednesday is sponsored by DMVSTREAM. Check them out at DMVSTREAM.com.
Hello everybody, I'm Jackie Sagar here to unveil the DMVSTREAM.com Athlete of the Week, which comes to us from the hardwood as Douglas's Cameron Hayes notched 24 points against Forestville and 21 points against Friendly to give the Eagles back-to-back wins after their first loss of the season against Gwynn Park. If you want to be the DMV Stream Athlete of the Week, be sure to tweet us your nomination at DMV Stream.
All right, we're back in the Prep Zone. Sean Parker, James Fleet, Nick Eilerson. Time for the allmetsports.com weekly fast forward. A couple of game previews. First up, we've got DeMatha and Paul VI. Nick.
Yeah, should be a good. What WCAC? Why do we have to talk about that? Basketball? I don't even know how to play it. It seems like every week we're talking about Paul VI, we're talking about DeMatha.
Yes.
This should be a great matchup as it usually is. DeMatha is so dominant this season. Their only losses to out-of-area teams, Oak Hill and Montverde. So it's going to be a very tough challenge for Paul VI. You know, Paul VI coming off back-to-back losses against St. John's and Gonzaga, two extremely good teams, but those were very close games. So I think despite losing back the last two contests, Paul VI is playing very well right now. I think this will be a very good one, especially given that it's at PVI. I was at this game last year, actually. It was a very close game the whole way. Paul VI pulled out a low grinding game. I think it was 49-46. Paul VI, I think just like this time, they might have been the underdogs in that one, but they rode that home court. And they got the big game from Corey Manigault, their 6'7" big man in that one. He's going to have to do the same thing here. You got to go up against DJ Harvey, the stud junior for DeMatha, who's just such a great prospect for the Stags. Markel Fultz goes without saying, one of the best recruits in the country, averaging 18.3 points a game. It'll be interesting to see him go up against VJ King, always an extremely fun matchup. VJ, the Louisville commit, averaging about 25 a night, so he's just a force for Paul VI. So then, you know, DeMatha's also got guys like they got Nate Darling, who can really shoot it. He needs to be a little bit more consistent this season. Let's see if he can light it up in this one. But regardless, there's so many stars on the court for this one. It should be a really good game.
Okay, and what's your prediction for that game?
Prediction, I'll take DeMatha in this one. You know, I like Paul VI, but DeMatha is just such a well-rounded team. I think they've got more depth than Paul VI for sure, so I think they'll pull it out. And this is interesting because you've got two recently named McDonald's All-Americans, VJ King and Markel Fultz are the newly named McDonald's All-Americans from the D.C. area. This is the first time that two D.C. area stars have been named to the McDonald's All-American team since, I think it was 2007. So really congratulations to those guys for making the 24-player cut. I think there were about 63 players from the DMV nominated for this. So wow, you're sort of bound to be at least one or two guys from this area to be on the team. But here we go, Markel and VJ going at it. It's going to be a good one.
Very impressive. James, what about your prediction for that game?
I like DeMatha. I like Markel, but I think the wild card is DJ Harvey, the junior. I think he will make the difference in the game.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to make that 3 for 3 because I can't see, I'm going to take DeMatha. I can't see DeMatha losing that game. All right, we're going to step away for a brief talk. Josh Apple had an interview a little bit earlier this week with Westfield's Tyler Scanlon, talking about his success on the football field and on the basketball court.
I'm Josh Apple. I'm here with Tyler Scanlon from Westfield, a two-sport star, both basketball and football. We're here on the basketball court, so that'll be our focus, but we'll talk a little bit about both. First of all, you just won a state football championship. That's pretty cool. Talk about the emotions with winning a championship.
Yeah, well, we definitely didn't do it the easy way. Triple overtime, came down to the wire. A lot of adversity throughout the season, and it was a fantastic ending to it all. We came out on top, so obviously, and we're excited. But those overtimes, those were, man, my stomach was dropping. My nerves were on edge. It was tough to get through, but once you win, it's just so much relief.
That was a Virginia 6A final championship against Oscar Smith, played at UVA. Triple overtime thriller, exciting stuff there. But now you're back on the basketball court with Westfield. Any difficulty getting back adjusted, refocusing?
Yeah, definitely the first game was getting back into basketball shape was difficult, but I think that the guys were really helpful, playing off each other, really moving the ball well, helped me get in the flow, helped some of the other football guys get in the flow. So I feel like I'm starting to get back into shape, but on the defensive end, we're still a little slow, the football guys, with our rotations and stuff, but I think we'll get back pretty soon.
And how do your experiences on the football field help translate to success on the basketball court?
It's just the toughness you learn in football, the never quit type attitude, and just trying to find a way to win, really. And that's all we did during football, and that's what we're trying to do now in basketball. Just bring that toughness and never give up.
Now, like I said, you just won a state championship in football. Last year in basketball, you guys reached the state championship but came up just short in that game. What do you guys need to do to get over the hump this year?
I think we really need to focus on the little things. Last year was a couple rebounds, a couple free throws, a couple deflections, one way or the other. And I think that's really what it comes down to. Every team can play. Every team can put the ball in the hoop. It's who can make the little things happen and who can make those plays that really don't necessarily show up in the box score but make the difference.
And despite your talent in two sports, you're committed to play at Boston basketball. Talk about what was so attractive about their program.
Yeah, well, Coach Jones laid out a really good plan for me when I went up there on my visit. The guys were really good to be around. It felt like a family, and it felt like a place where I wanted to spend 4 years. And obviously the academics were a big part of it. Leaving after 4 years with a degree like that is really going to help me going forward.
Now tell us how the recruiting process was for you. Some people really enjoy it. For some people it's stressful. So just describe how it was for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think during the process it can be stressful. It can be overwhelming. But looking back on it, there's so much to be grateful for. To have so many schools that want to talk to you. A lot of people take it for granted, but it's really awesome for athletes like us to have that opportunity.
And if you can identify one, maybe two things you're most looking forward to about playing college basketball, what would that be?
I think it's going to be upsets. I think that's something that going to a mid-major, you're going to have the opportunity to play those big-name schools. And there's nothing like going into somebody else's house and stealing one from them, especially when they're a school with a higher pedigree or whatever you want to call it. That's something I'm looking forward to. And also just being able to be dedicated to it. I think that playing football in high school was great for me. It's something I'll always be glad I did, but being able to just focus on basketball for 4 years is something I'm looking forward to.
Well, there you have it. Be on the lookout for upsets from Tyler Scanlon and Boston University in the near future. But before that happens, he still has to round out his final season with Westfield. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Sean Parker, James Fleet, Nick Eilerson in the Prep Zone. We've got another game preview to go over, and it's a league that we are not too familiar down here in the DMV area. The IPSL, the Independent Parochial School Championship. St. James and Goretti. James,
Yes.
talk to us.
Well, let's let everybody understand what that league is made up of. You have St. James, which is a private school. They play in the IPSL, plus they play in the MAC. You have Goretti, who's part of the BCL and part of that league. Then you have St. John's Catholic Prep. They're part of the MIAA-B, and they're part of that league. And then you have Mercersburg, who is part of an MAL league up in Pennsylvania. Those four teams get together and they created their own league. They play each other once, and then whoever wins, they have a championship game. So whoever beats who and has the most wins, the championship game is held at their house. This year, it's at Goretti. Actually, last year it was at Goretti. Even though St. James won the contest, something happened. So St. James is playing Goretti. St. James has 5 D1 prospects. Grant Golden, the commit to Richmond, he's part of that. And then his brother Bryce, who is a sophomore, who has 2 offers, one to High Point and the other one to Richmond. And I think he has another one to James Madison.
And here we can see Grant Golden's stats. He had 24 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists versus Potomac School.
And that's great because he broke his leg last year and lost his whole junior season. So that's coming back off of a devastating injury.
And what about Goretti?
Goretti has 3 players. They have Dante Dolman. They have Amika Akaya, who's actually committed to Air Force. And they have, let's go with those 2 right now.
Let's go with those 2.
And those are the 2 main seniors right now. Dante Dolman leads the team with 21 points. It says 18 points on the graphics. The last I talked, it was 21 points because they just finished playing 2 other games. Okay. Amika Akaya, who committed to Air Force, he had 7 offers. He actually was on the same Blue Devils team with Markel Fultz.
Okay.
Yeah. He had an offer from DePaul. He had one from North Carolina, Wilmington. He had Navy. He had both St. Francis, one out of Pennsylvania, one out of New York. So he is a very dynamic player, a solid wing that can high fly. And he got the air above us.
So what type of game are we looking at? If somebody is looking at St. James and Goretti on the court, what are we seeing?
That's the thing. St. James comes in very impressive. They walk through the door and everybody goes, wow, this is a college team because they're so big, with the Golden Boy standing at 6'8" and 6'9". Then they have Craig Lassane, who's about 6'7". He's committed to go to Pepperdine. You have Omar Obabwe, who has offers from Mount St. Mary's. He also has offers from VMI. You have Isaiah Mucus out of New York, and he has offers from Wake Forest and St. John. So I mean, and they all walk in the door, and you go, wow, okay, that's how big they are.
So go ahead.
The Goretti team is about 6'5" is the tallest. And the St. James team is really, really tall. The last game, Goretti beat them by 2 points.
Okay.
And this game here, we believe, is going to be a St. James matchup, and we believe St. James will actually pull this one out.
So is that your prediction for this game,
yes,
St. James?
It is.
All right, Nick, how about you?
I think I picked Goretti for this one, but I'm starting to regret it. St. James sounds like a monster team. I don't really know much about these two teams, to be honest with you. They're out of our coverage area, but I'll go against you. I'll say Goretti. Small ball, it's in these days. Let's go. How about it?
All right, and I'm going to take St. James. And I was picking St. James even before I heard James's breakdown on that, but we're going to go with St. James on that one. All right, so we're just about out of time here. Do we have time real quick to take a look at the top 10 rankings in the area? Let's take a look at the top 10 rankings according to the Washington Post. Eleanor Roosevelt, number 10, Wakefield at 9, then McNamara, Gwynn Park, Westfield, and then rounding out the top 5, National Christian, Woodson, Gonzaga, St. John's, and DeMatha. So it looks like we have some of the regular suspects up there at the top of the poll. Really quick, one person to look for in the next couple of months here. Real quick, give me
person.
one player.
Just a player?
Just one, yeah, one exciting player.
Let's see. I mean, I'll stick with Markel. I think he's going to finish the season really strong.
Markel Fultz. All right, how about
I'm
you?
going to pick an unknown player, a kid named Jake Stevens that goes to Musselman High School. He's very dynamic.
All right, Jake Stevens, Musselman High School. You heard that right here on the Prep Zone. James Fleet, DMV Elite, Nick Eilerson, Washington Post. Thank you guys so much for joining us here. The Prep Zone is now closed. I'm Sean Parker. We'll see you next time.